Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Opry.
Yep.
See you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right, welcome to the Assetto Corsa exhibition race here at the Over30Clan. Pretty exciting race today. We have 10 drivers racing tonight. Should be an interesting race. We're just finishing up our 6-minute qualifiers right now. Looking for the best lap time. Vinny posting a 1:45 on his first time around the track. Currently in first place. We are spectating Black Death here. This is the GT3 series here, Brands Hatch. Pretty fast track. We're seeing times posting are like 1:27, 1:28, so should be about a 35-minute race. Tonight's race is a 20-lap race. We are starting from the line. We are requiring all drivers pit at least once. All assists are allowed except for, I think, traction control. So we're allowing all the other assists. This is more of a racing simulator, so it's more like what the real world cars you would experience. As Black Death kind of goes off the track here. This is our first race here at the Over30Clan on Assetto Corsa. We have been for the past 3 years been racing Forza 7. That's what we kind of started with for our competitive racing here in the Over30Clan community. And recently decided to check out a bit more of a racing simulator title with the Assetto Corsa, and it seems to be a lot of excitement from many of the drivers here at the Over30, so should be an interesting race tonight. You see the overlay that we've been working on here to give you guys a little bit of a better racing experience, all the relative information, best lap times, current leaderboard position, etc., etc. Although the current lap time, for some reason tonight, is not working, which is a bit of a kind of sucks, to be honest. Put like 80 hours into that dashboard, but we will figure it out for the next race for sure. It's not SimHub is not pulling the right data for us for that data point. So, but it seems to everything else seems to be working pretty flawlessly. So it should be a pretty interesting race tonight. Let's check out some of the drivers. So here's Black Death, as we've been watching in the out cold, with his bit of a shattered windshield. Seems he has got a few little bumps and scratches over his car. A little bit worse for wear. As we check out the cool camera angles that you can see as we spectate the out cold, and if we pop over to Vinny here, this Mclaren Mp4-12c. I like this car. It sounds like a fighter jet taking off. Super, super fast car. Take a look at some of the follow cams. I like it, I like it. Let's pop over to Private Savage here, as Black Death appears to be right on his heels. Black looking to take him on the outside, possibly. Although they are coming up to that very white sweeping right last turn before the track goes. Black Death looks like he's being very aggressive on the inside. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any sort of collisions. Vinny currently are leading the best lap at 1:28.6. If we take a look at this from Black Death's point of view here. So he's being very aggressive here with Private Savage. Now, Black Death is capable of 1:27. We saw that in the warm-up. I'm wondering if the extra complications of passing Private Savage are going to stop him from posting that sort of time here in the qualifiers. Yeah, Punin getting around the track for his first lap. Kilgore is wrecked and appears to be off the track, but he has completed a lap of 134, so he will be able to get placed in this qualifier. So if he chooses not to race anymore in the qualifying round because his car got wrecked. Reaper posting a 130. It's his current best lap time. So he is currently in third place. You can see the pole position there on the left of the leaderboard is what we currently have today. Firewater is on the track and looking to complete his first clean run as well. So you do have to do a clean lap in order to have that time qualify. Any penalties, any track cutting, and it will negate that lap time for the qualifier. The qualifier will determine where on the line people start. That first turn on Brands Hatch is an absolute doozy. And I believe we are about to begin. So we have Vinny out in front with a 128.6. Reaper not far behind with a 128.9. Will be in second place. Black Death will be in third with 130. Private Savage will be in fourth with 131. Delray will be on the line in fifth position at 133. Kilgore at 134 will be in sixth position. Out Cold in 137. Seventh. Firewater and Poon Ruinen will be in eighth and ninth position. And I'm not sure how they're going to quite stack up because they didn't really complete a qualifying lap. So we have 50 seconds, and then we will begin our 20-lap race. We are requiring at least one pit stop. Even pitting in this game is pretty interesting because you have to actually bring your car right to the pit and stop in your designated spot. So it's pretty interesting, actually, these race sims, how realistic they can actually. They're always trying to approach that complete realism. Fun fact: we did look up the best lap time on this track. I think is 1:24 in real life. I believe was the set in 1996, if I'm not mistaken, or 2006, somewhere around there. It's fairly close to the times that we're actually seeing at 128. So we're only about 4 seconds off the real world record actual car lap times on this track with this racing simulators. Kind of just shows the testament to how accurate these racing simulators are really getting over the past few years, right? And this is actually a fairly old game. It still holds up really well. Still looks great. So I'm going to go back to the pits because I'm not needed. Oh, so here we are in the line. So I'm there in the back. Unfortunately, this game does not have a proper spectate mode, so I actually have to remove myself from the track the moment the game starts, which is not too difficult to do. Just waiting for that timer to count down here. As we sit here on the track, looking at Poon and Ruinen. This is a GT3 race as well. And we're off. So I will pop back to the pits. And we will take a look at Kilgore here. That's currently in fourth place. Turn up the sound a little bit here. This is just to really kind of work out the bugs a little bit. Get things running smoothly. So right off the bat, Vinny appears to be right out in front. Reaper in a close second. Black Death trailing behind. But very close to Reaper in a following third place. Let's actually pop up to Black Death here as he's being very aggressive here on lap number 1 as they're approaching one of the trickier turns. It's a very elongated right-hand turn. The apex is not where it seems in that turn. You actually have to start the turn incredibly late and cut fairly aggressively, but you can actually very smoothly get around that. Vinny was helping a lot of drivers out last night with that. Black Death here, just making sure he doesn't end up rear-ending Reaper. beautiful dashboard. So we see them taking the last turn here. Ooh. We had Reaper hit the dirt and fall back behind in third place, allowing Black Death to creep up in second. So that's fantastic as we get back into the dash of Black Death here. As Vinny is still out in front. We're seeing a best lap time 136, so still a ton of improvement. That 136 off the line is actually a very impressive lap time for Brands Hatch. We are seeing about 126s and 127s in the warm-up for rolling lap times, so still a ton of improvement here. The drivers have seemed to be spread out a little bit. It appears Firewater is having some issues there at the line. Let's go take a look at what's going on with Firewater. So he actually seemed to have recovered and is continuing on with his lap, so fantastic. I thought he may have wrecked from what looked to appear him stopping on the mini-map. Black Death right behind Vinny here, as you can see on the cam. Let's actually pop up to Vinny and take a look at him taking this beautiful turn. I love these camera angles in Assetto Corsa. It really gives you that that feel that you're watching an actual racing broadcast. Black taking that a little bit wide, hitting the grass, losing a little bit of momentum, but still able to keep pace with Vinny. Seems like he might be catching up as we flip over to Black Death and get a aerial shot of him coming up on Vinny here. Let's pop back to see some of the other drivers. We're just finishing up lap number 2 here. Vinny out in front. Let's see what sort of lap times they are positioning. So Vinny with 129, Black Death with the 128. So we are seeing them approach that 127 territory. Let's flip over to the out cold here. He's just recovering from what appeared to be a small spin out. His car doesn't seem worse for wear though, so I think he'll be able to hopefully continue. So we take a look at him just being extra careful. Oh, he is having some engine problems or some car problems, so he'll probably be pitting very shortly. As we look at Private Savage finishing up his lap number 2 as well, coming across that, just finishing that last turn, coming across the line, posting a lap time of, his current best lap time is 131. So not a terrible lap time at all. Vinny dropping back down to second place. Let's take a look here. Oh, Vinny now taking back and up in first. So there is a fight between Vinny and Black Death for first and second place. Hope to keep an eye on these guys. Just turn down the audio just a hair here. I find it just to be just a tad bit overpowering. So Black Death appears to be attempting to draft Vinny. As they finish up their lap number 3. So we haven't checked in with Reaper in a bit, so Reaper is, unfortunately, seems to be having some car problems himself here. And will most likely be doing a pit. Also, we have Fireworks currently in the pit himself, so we do require the drivers to do at least one pit. I think these are premature pits due to some sort of damage or engine trouble that they are experiencing. Back to the fight between Black Death and Vinny. They appear to be pretty far out in front now, as Kilgore has overtaken Del Rey and Reaper, and is currently in third place, but fairly far back, about 2 turns behind Black Death and Vinny. Let's pop over to Kilgore and see what he's up to here. Driving the BMW Z4 GT3. Being very aggressive. And this is that elongated turn I was talking about with the very high apex. It is very tricky. This one's a bit more of a tighter turn, but as you can see there, handled very well by Kilgore. He's one of the newer members of the Over30Clan. I think this is his first race with us, doing quite well for himself. Let's pop back over to... Who haven't we checked in with? Currently watching Reaper here. Reaper sitting in current 5th place with the best lap time at 1:30. So only about 2.5 seconds off the leader. Vinny is posting the first 127 best lap time, 127.92. We did see Black Death do 127.6 before, so we'll keep an eye on that. Kilgore seems to have been able to, Reaper has been able to catch up to Kilgore and Delray. You can see it in front. So let's take a look at Kilgore as he appears to be being very aggressive on Delray. As Delray goes a little bit wide on that turn, Kilgore seems to have followed. Just flip over to the chase cam here. So it is quite the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. They have bunched up quite closely as Reaper taking to the outside, freaks out Kilgore possibly a little bit. Kilgore hits the wall. Hopefully he's better for wear and manages to get back to the pits or manages to get back on the road. Let's just take a quick peek. So Kilgore's already recovered, so that's good. So Reaper now in 4th place, approaching Delray. Vinny's still out in front with a 127.9. Check back in with our race leaders briefly here. We're taking a look at Black Death here, currently in 2nd place, as he is still keeping a close eye on Vinny. Vinny is pulling ahead slightly here. A few more car lengths ahead than he was last time we checked. Still a lot of laps to go in the race. We're only on lap number, finishing up our lap number 6. As they come around about halfway through lap number 6 here. So Reaper appears to be attacking Delray. Delray and Reaper fighting for that luxurious 4th place. Let's take a look at some of the other drivers here. We got Kilgore dropping back to 8th place due to that mistake we saw earlier. Poonen Runen currently in 7th place. Let's take a peek at him here. As he does have 6th place in his view, so opportunity to maybe take a couple positions still. Everyone is spread out quite considerably on the track. We haven't checked in with Firewater, who I think is a fairly new driver as well to the Over30Clan's driving series here. Firewater is currently in 9th place. So he's a little bit on his own here. Everyone's spread out quite considerably, so he goes a little bit wide on that turn. It appears Reaper's actually been able to catch up to Black Death. Let's go take a look at what's going on there. Or no, I apologize. Reaper has not caught up to Black Death. Reaper is still far behind. So first and second, Vinny still leading at first, is spread out quite considerably from Black Death. Reaper has fallen back about 2 turns and is currently in 3rd place, being challenged by Delray in 4th. Let's flip over to Delray here. He has Reaper in his sights. Vinny's still holding that best lap time of 127. Just on lap number 6 here. 14 laps to go. I do enjoy the cameras in this. I find them pretty cool. Especially if you want to see, you know, Delray handling the last turn here and the beautiful arc. You know, the TV style chase camera or the TV style side view cameras are pretty cool. So let's pop up to our race leader, Vinny. We haven't spent too much time with him, as he appears to be looking to lap Poonen Runen here. Oh, Poonen Runen looking like he was going to stay on the outside there, hit the dirt, caused his car to come sliding back in, almost in a collision with Vinny. Vinny able to expertly avoid that. So Vinny looking to be very careful here and pass Poonen possibly on the outside, barely avoiding collision. See here in the overhead camera, Poonen being a bit erratic with his driving. He's trying to struggling to keep in a predictable line as Vinny is taking the inside and safely passing Poonen Runen. Now the drivers do communicate in Discord, so they are aware of each other's presence. They do call out their passes and things like that, so that we can avoid as many collisions as possible. He's also looking to lap out cold here, currently in 6th place. As Vinny continues to put on a clinic, still holding the best lap time at 1:27.9. Black Death not far off of the 1:28. He's about 7 seconds behind Vinny right now, so a quite considerable lead going into lap number 8. We see him approach some of these turns very aggressively. So that's that very wide, elongated right-hand turn that the Apex is a bit late on. See Vinny here just expertly taking the turns nice and smoothly, putting on a bit of a clinic, as he appears to be approaching Firewater now. So he finishes up his lap 9. Or finishes up his lap number 8, going into lap number 9. Firewater giving Vinny some time and distance there. So let's take a look at Black Death here, as he seems to be approaching, possibly catching up to Vinny. So now there's only about a 4-second gap between Vinny and Black Death. So Black Death has been able to make up quite a considerable amount of time in the past lap. He definitely has Vinny back in his sights, so he's not going to let him off too easy. Firewater spinning off the track there and going head first into the wall. So one thing about these driving simulation games is it can be quite difficult to keep the car on the road in the best of times, and once you end up losing control, you fully lose control. It becomes very difficult to recover. Especially once you lose control on the grass or the gravel, your car just goes for basically an infinite slide until it hits a wall, so... Let's see, Black Death here opting for his first pit, so he navigates that pit lane. Yeah, pitting in this game is very interesting, because you do have to actually nail your pit spot. So you have a designated pit spot that you actually have to pull up to and stop perfectly in. It appears he managed to do that, so he'll be exiting the pit row now. So fantastic pit there, Black. Going back up to Vinny, who I don't believe has pitted yet on lap number 10, so he should be pitting in the next lap or so. Let's check in with Firewater, who seemed to recover from that previous accident. Currently in 11th position, here with 8 liters left. Oh, oh, just gets his car just front end pivoting a little bit, not able to correct, overcorrecting, and then slamming into the wall. Unfortunately, again, a lot of learning still needs to be done. We're all still getting used to this game, but he appears to be no worse for wear, still drivable, so he's managed to recover off that accident. We got Reaper here approaching Kilgore. He's currently in 7th place with Reaper looking to do a lap here. He's currently in 4th place. Private Savage just ahead of him. We'll check out with Private Savage in just a second as Kilgore gets off the track. Doesn't want to be responsible for any mishaps with some of the top drivers, so good on him. And I think as we all get more comfortable with this game, we'll see a lot less of that, but this is one of our very first Expedition races on Assetto Corsa, as Private Savage hits the dirt, goes straight into the wall, and loses control. It is so easy. That is such a disastrous turn, because it has this like a little hump where you lose a little bit of traction as you come across, and then you got to cut left. I've wiped out on that turn dozens of times. It's one of the hardest turns in this race. So Venny here, looking to take on Del Rey, looking to lap him. So Venny currently in 1st place, lapping Del Rey on the inside. Oh, manages to barely get past him, trade a little bit of paint to the front to the rear bumper, but manages to get by just fine. He's running around 6 liters of fuel, so we'll be seeing him probably pit in the next 2 or 3 laps. I would assume the next lap or 2. I would not be surprised if he actually pits at the next go around. Let's see, oh, saw there in the back, Del Rey hitting the wall. I believe that was Del Rey. Yep, Del Rey recovering and no worse for wear, so that's good. Again, Vinny putting on a bit of a clinic here. This is that sweeping left, taking that at top speed. Yeah, Vinny opting to hit the pits, so excellent. To show you how the pits work. So you see in Forza what happens is that by this time the AI grabs your car and drives you to your spot and parks you and does the pit for you basically automatically. In this game you have to hit your exact pit spot. If you end up missing it, as Vinny seems to have, you actually have to reverse, get into the correct pit spot. As you can see, he's doing a little bit of fine-tuning. So a lot of getting used to here. There is a limiter in the pits. I think it's at 80 kilometers per hour. So that pit actually allowed Black Death to catch up quite considerably. So he's actually closed the gap. He's only about 2.5 to 3 seconds behind Venny because of that miss on the pit. So it's actually very interesting. Where in Forza, typically that would not happen. In Forza, because AI is grabbing your car automatically, everyone's pit time is pretty much identical. So, you know, that's just another kind of room, another competitive edge that you can have on your opponent if you manage to execute pits aggressively and accurately. So Black Death now within striking distance. He appears to be just around a 2-second gap from Vinny in front of him. Vinny's still holding the best lap time, 1:27.9. Black Death's current last lap was 1:29. His best is 1:28. So driving a very consistent race tonight. As they both approach Poonen here, currently in 7th place. You see Vinny looking to pass Poonen possibly on the outside. Black Death having to put on the brakes quite heavily to avoid collision. Both Vinny and Black Death pass Poonen with no problem. Del Rey is the next obstacle up in the path. Del Rey appears to be staying to the right-hand side, giving Vinny and Black Death lots of movement, but then switching over to the left-hand lane in order to get around this next turn. So they are communicating in Discord to try to avoid those seriously terrible collisions that might be fun to watch, but can definitely ruin people's games. As Out Cold almost gets in the grill of Black Death there. They managed to avoid collision. Black Death barely avoiding that. Now he's right up on Venny's ass. A quarter-second gap separates them. Only 1 or 2 car lengths behind now. So we're getting to a very competitive last 6 laps here. As Black Death has squeezed out the lead from Venny and is challenging him for first place. Let's pop back over here to the extended chase cam as Black Death and Vinny are kind of going at it. I'll have to check in with these guys in a moment. Ooh, Black Death looking like he's getting some speed on Vinny, being very aggressive here. This is that extremely wide sweeping right-hand turn they keep talking about. It's a very challenging turn. Both drivers driving very similar lines. Venny and Black looking to cut the track slightly there. No penalty awarded. I believe that those rubber sections that you see that extend the pavement of the track are still within play. They come around that final turn of lap number 14, going into lap number 15. See Black Death here, just, you know, but less than a second behind Venny, so be very competitive. Push for first place. So we'll check out with these guys in just a moment. Let's go back and take a look at Delray here in 4th. We haven't actually checked in with Reaper in a bit. Let's flip over to Reaper here. Reaper's currently in 3rd place. I would say about half a lap behind 1st and 2nd. So everyone's spread out quite considerably as he finishes up his lap number 14 here. Black still has Vinny's in his sights. See from his cockpit view here. Right on Vinny's ass. I'm sure Vinny can feel it. I think Black is looking for using that draft to his advantage and then swing out and pass Vinny when he has an opportune moment to do so. Black getting within a whisper of Vinny's butt there. Less than a quarter second separates the two. Black Death taking this long straightaway is an opportunity to pass Vinny, so for the first time in many laps, Black Death manages to get ahead and is currently leading in 1st place. Vinny having none of it, looking to be very aggressive on the inside here. And manages to take over Black. Black, again, not having any of it, and both being very aggressive here on lap number 16. Coming to the final turn here of lap 16. So 4 laps remain. Our first exhibition race on here on Brands Hatch for Assetto Corsa. Venny and Black Death are fighting very aggressively for 1st place. It's pretty much anyone's game at this point. Now, what's interesting is, okay, so the pit opened at the top 1 lap. So that's laps. I thought that was the amount of fuel left in the particular players. No, that's the amount of laps left before you can pit. Never mind. I thought Black Death was running out of fuel, but he is sitting with a comfortable 20 liters remaining. So come around that turn here. So we have another interesting turn of events here as Vinny and Black Death competing to the death for first place. Both managed to pass Del Rey. Del Rey giving them lots of berth and time. Letting them fight this one out. So they come around that final turn, going into lap number 18. Fenny's still holding the best lap time of 1:27. Venny taking that turn just a little bit wide. I wonder if he lost a tiny bit of momentum there. Seems to be fine. Like that, keeping a very close eye. Looking for that moment. Only 3 laps remain, so this should be a very dramatic end to this race if they keep this up. As Vinny looks to be sliding as he goes around that turn, giving Black Death just a bit of a slight advantage there to overtake him. So Black Death takes that time. We flip back to Vinny here, currently in second place. Black Death, you know, three-quarter second gap between the two. Now down to about a second, or just half a second gap between the two. So still very competitive. Vinny looking like he has a slight bit more momentum on these turns. I think he's looking for that opportunity to pass. They both approach Kilgore here, currently in 7th place. Vinny managing to pass Black Death there. Black Death recovering, but dropped back considerably. Now 5 seconds behind Vinny here as they finish up lap number 18. Black Death looking to navigate both Del Rey and Reaper here. Very challenging. Very challenging maneuvers as he continues to drop back considerably from Vinny. It was about a minute behind Vinny now. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I believe Vinny might be waiting for Black Death here. As Black Death did manage to get into a little bit of an accident, had to recover. So I think Vinny is giving Black Death an opportunity to catch up for their final lap. So they can go back to having a competitive race again. It's kind of a nice thing to hear in the exhibition. You'll see that very often. So if my expectations are correct, Vinny should be getting ready to leave the pits now. As he is not. I'm really not sure what's happening there, to be honest. Black Death now in first place. Vinny with a 7-second gap. Wonder if Vinny has had some car troubles. Black Death out in front now in first place. Behind Reaper and Del Rey. Reaper hitting the dirt there on the left. Ooh, Kilgore hitting the grass. That's a very difficult turn as well. It's very easy to take that turn a little bit too wide, hit that dirt, and just slide into that open field. So Reaper looking like he's trying to be aggressive here on Del Rey and get that 4th place position, so he's less than a second behind Del Rey. Black Death just kind of keeping his cool here as Reaper hits the dirt and goes off the track. What is happening? I don't know what's happening. Everyone's just stopping. Del Rey on his final lap here. Black Death pulling off to the side. Let's check in with the drivers really quickly here.
Third. I don't know.
What's happening?
Howdy.
Did the race end?
I don't think so. I don't think I finished it. It's only
So
showing
who
me
won?
17 laps.
There's a 2-minute countdown.
Yeah, that must be from the first person that finished.
Because
Yeah,
Van,
I think
did you
told
stop
me race
earlier than
over.
everyone else?
I pitted and it didn't count. I'm not sure. We got to figure that out. But I set it up to do a stop and go and didn't change anything. It wasn't
Okay.
getting tires or no fuel. I stopped in the box and took off, and it didn't count.
Oh, there we go. I got
So-
2 more laps to go. I'm not gonna finish
So
it. I guess.
so you got disqualified then, and that's why you went
Correct.
to the pit on your last lap. Okay. And then
Yep.
Black, I saw you stop on the side. Was that?
I was
Did-
done.
Why
Oh,
do
you were
I have
done,
a
okay.
penalty? I don't understand what
Yeah.
the hell's going on right now.
Instead of getting everybody's way, I just pulled off and went back to the pits.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Black
I
had a
didn't-
couple of penalties he had to serve though, in which he
Yeah.
pulled off a little bit and slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, throughout the race, I cut twice, and I had to slow down to 25 or 30 mile an hour.
Yeah.
I'm so confused as to what's going on right now.
Well, I learned that you cannot use the little counter up in the middle of the screen because that's
I got
not
second
your-
place.
That's
Good
not your what?
job.
Sorry.
That's not your lap counter at the top. That's the leader's lap counter.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I didn't even finish the race because I thought I was done.
Yeah, me too. Mine said final lap, and I passed
Yep,
the
you
finish
gave
line.
it to me. Yep, you stopped fighting and gave it to me, and you're in third. I'm in second. Well, I got first.
There
Yeah,
is
you-
you got fourth.
Yeah, but my thing said final lap right in the middle, and I passed the finish line and I stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there-
that
there's
was
an-
for the leader. That wasn't for you.
There's an application on the right hand side called Race Position. It puts a just a position and lap on the
Yeah,
bottom
I
left of your
see- I
screen.
have
That
Yep.
yeah, that's what you should be going off. Yeah, I think the top shows the leader. So Andrew, we learned a lot. I learned that
I don't get it.
I think this game's kind of harder to follow than
Yeah,
Forza,
it is.
but it's pretty cool. The cameras are kind of neat.
Fun.
You guys all learned a
Man,
valuable
Reaper-
lesson about slowing the hell down and
Yeah.
We should have fought a little bit more.
So
the
maybe
actual
on
driving was quite intense. I
Yes.
definitely was sweating, and I don't in Forza. So
yeah. There's one time when I think Venny, you and Black were coming across the line, and I think it was Poon Runen, and he kind of like his car kind of just drifted a little bit suddenly to the right, and Black was like, like
That
you
was
see
cold.
him panic pulling off to the right and trying to
Yes,
avoid that
was
collision,
cold.
right?
I was
Oh,
telling
cold,
everybody I
yeah,
was having flashbacks of the Mary incident.
oh,
that was
rocket
pretty
practice.
cool. That was pretty neat.
I had a
That was
blast
really good
personally.
racing. Yeah.
That was fun.
That was a
Yeah,
lot
that
of
was-
fun. Yeah,
That was
I-
intense. It was-
It's
can't
gonna
wait
be
to try it
a
next
lot
week.
more. It's gonna be a lot more work if we end up going this route for the next season, right? Because this is a totally new game and it's a lot more challenging to drive. But I think everyone seems more excited about this game than Forza. Maybe the challenge is kind of nice, fresh.
It's less BS, I think. You know, you don't have to worry about getting disconnected, and it seems to be a little more level playing field. You don't have to fool around with goofy car builds and
Yeah.
and all that. You just get in the car and race.
Well, Well, if we were voting, I'd say stick with this. I enjoy this a lot more.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah, Reaper got to use his VR, so.
Yeah, right.
And his wheel,
Get into
yeah.
shadow,
I get to
yeah.
use my wheel.
So how far do you, like, if you look all the way to your left, you can see right out your window?
Oh yeah, you use the mirrors and everything.
All right, sweet.
Like I'm looking down and I see the fire extinguisher and shit. It's
The
crazy.
things that I've watched say that's the way to go eventually.
Yeah.
To get
Yeah,
into
I
it.
Just for the
Yes,
level of immersion, right? Like you
Yeah.
can still drive very well with the screen in a wheel, but if you want the cool
Reaper.
immersion feeling, to chill up your spine, VR is the way to go.
Reaper had mentioned it, basically just quoting something he said the other day, but ultimately in sim racing, since you don't have all of the feedback you get from the car,
Yeah.
you don't feel the actual
Guys,
G.
I got the baby crying. I gotta jump. Well, I'll be back. All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right, see you, River.
You don't feel the actual G's and you're not getting vibration in your seat, but the VR headset definitely provides more visual feedback, and he was able to recover cars that he couldn't before when he was driving on a flat screen. So it's definitely proof positive to me that it works.
Yeah. And then once
Yeah.
everyone has a VR headset, we'll be talking about the one person in the clan who gets like a motorized roll cage on pistons.
Oh
and,
yeah, with the
like-
gyros and everything.
Like you're not immersed until your body's flipping around.
Yes. I gotta get
That's
my wife
black.
to come in here and help. The
Black's
car's
getting
upside
it.
down.
just crush my left hand in the pistons, guys. I'll be off for the next week.
I was just gonna say, yeah, your honey-do list has to wait till Sunday because Saturday you're too beat up.
You got bruises. You're starting to post pictures of people with like bruises on their rib cage and things like that from being jostled around from an accident that happened.
Fucking, do you watch any of that NASCAR stuff? Denny Hamlin's might do that shit. He's got a crazy rig.
Yeah.
His might actually turn with the car and everything.
So how did the stream go?
I thought it went well. I mean, I'm getting used to the controls. It's nice to do. If we do a few more exhibition races before we go to like the full season,
Mhm.
I'll have a better handling of it. But
Okay, well, I'm definitely
it's
gonna
cool. I
watch
like it.
because I'm curious to see how it went.
a lot more clunky than I was in Forza, but just getting
But
used
you're
to
learning
things.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
learning it.
you're
Yeah.
learning it.
But the cameras
So,
are really
I mean,
cool. The cameras are
And
really
you're
cool.
not seeing the degradation of performance like you were with Forza either.
No, I'm hitting like 300 frames.
Okay.
It's stupid. It's just,
You have enough. You can lend them out.
And the server seemed to handle all 7 of us in there pretty well. So, or 8 of us, how many
I
were
think
in
it
there?
was
We
10.
had
There was 8
10,
at
I
one
think.
time. Yeah.
Did we have 10 people? Seriously?
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
wow.
awesome.
Yeah, it handled it very well. So,
Yeah, flawless.
yeah.
I think there's nine drivers and me because I'm technically a racer because there's no spectator
Yeah,
mode.
yeah.
So I just go to the
Yeah.
pit, right? Which we might have to try to figure out. Is there a way to designate pit spots for?
It does it for you, right? I mean,
Yeah, it gives you a pit spot, but I'm wondering if my corpse of a car sitting there would give some people an advantage over others. Like if you had your pit spot was right after my car, it could be difficult to cut into your pit spot.
No, you
It
could go right
might
through.
go
them.
by qualifying.
Oh, you can go right through me?
You could drive right
Yeah.
through. them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the
Okay,
pits,
there's no collision in the pits.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. So what if 2 cars that are on top of one another exit the pit together? Does the game just blow up at that point? Do the realities split?
I'm assuming that you would ghost until the cars are separated.
Oh,
Once
okay.
the collision turns back on. That's usually how these games work. But
That seems like a cool party trick. How long can you guys be a ghost image on top of each other?
right.
But I think the ghosting is only in the pit lane. As soon as you pull into the whatever you call the entry lane, you're solid again. That's my take on it. Does that make sense?
We
Not the
can
pit
actually
lane,
test
but when you're in the parking area, right, where the guys with the signs are, that's where you ghost. But as soon as you pull just to your left onto the actual roadway, then you're solid again. I think
Interesting.
that's it. Yeah.
We can test that in practice.
Yeah.
I had 2 things to say. Number 1, I would like to keep exhibitions going every week, and you don't have to show up. It's not mandatory. It's just fun. But it'll basically give us a track and something to practice to continue to develop the game and see what features it has. So on that note, I'm going to pick another track.
I just learned this one. What the hell?
Through the track
Well,
list, are there any?
It also
favorites?
gives you guys focus, right?
Mhm.
Like you get a whole week on one particular track, and then
Yeah,
you're working
no,
towards
for
working towards a fun race on the end of the week, right?
Yeah, and if you have time to practice, great. If not, no big deal. But At least you know what to practice if you have time to play.
I know
So
it's another British track, but Silverstone GP is fun.
we haven't had that in our league in a while. You know, they have the older version in the game, the 1967 version. Have you guys ever driven that before?
Yeah, it's narrow too.
In some spots, it's
Yeah.
decent setup.
We should run old Lotuses on it.
Would you guys like to do the Silverstone 1967 next week?
That's fine with me. I don't
Yeah,
really
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
have any preference.
Are
Sounds
we
fun to
sticking with a
me.
GT3 or what?
Well, that's a
imagine,
good
yeah.
question. So for car selection, I pick GT3 generally because I know they're well tuned in the game, and there's also a fairly broad selection. But looking through the list, there are a couple of GT2s sprinkled in. I'm not sure there's too many other designators that would basically identify cars that are matched up well. So if we go outside of GT3, I'll probably have to test some cars to find ones that are matched.
I'm cool with sticking with GT3.
Me too.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm liking it because since they're so well tuned, it's easier to learn the game and get comfortable with the wheel and so forth. And I know Cole's going to be getting his wheel soon, so he's probably going to want something that's not going to be overly involved in learning to drive. So I would think
Right.
at least one more race for the GT3, in my opinion.
There's another car out there. I mean, ultimately, I think if we chose GT2, I could probably match a couple cars up to it, but there's a BMW M3 GT2, which is fabulous. That car is great. It's just as
One
good as
question.
the Z4, maybe even a little better in terms of how it feels.
I'm assuming the group that's in here is what's going to be playing with us in the future. So who here does not have the full DLC, the Ultimate Edition? Does everybody have it?
Yep, I got it.
I got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
I've
so
got all the DLC. Yeah, I don't have the.
okay,
Ultimate
good,
Edition,
because
but-
we made it for a certain individual, but they're no longer with us. So now we can go back to full every card now.
I don't think
Yeah,
it was
we don't
him. I
limit
think it was
ourselves.
somebody else.
It was Fire is here, right? Firestorm, are you here?
Firewater. Yeah, I got
Firewater,
the
sorry.
I got Ultimate when I bought it
Okay.
like last night or whatever.
And
Oh, okay.
Poon, you said you have it too, Ultimate?
Yeah, I got it.
Your Reaper does too, right? Reaper's here. Yeah. Okay.
Out Cold,
I
you
got
have
it.
it as well? I don't think
Yeah, I
would
got
be-
the Ultimate Edition.
Okay, then I guess we could. That
Dustin, you
opens
did
up a
too,
lot
right?
of cars.
Mm.
With Ultimate Edition, I think we have 8 choices for GT3.
Yeah.
So
Which will help because that way we can find the car that we truly like instead of being limited to just the 3 that we had tonight. So
yeah.
You guys are so different in terms of how you drive, right? Like even Vinny and Black, who are kind of fighting for first and second place, or they have completely different race styles. Having more cars to pick from, I think would be good for everyone.
absolutely.
There's a few other people I know that are interested in possibly joining this league with us that are in the clan, but I believe thinking about it, I think they all have Ultimate too.
Okay.
So we might be able to pick up 1 or 2 more drivers, hopefully, for the season.
I think, well, I've seen a couple people pop in since we changed the name of the channel.
Yep.
So I think that's helped a little bit.
Yeah, and as we do exhibition, people see see us constantly doing races every week. You might get more people going, "Hey, I want in on that," right? So
right.
just naturally, but no, this is a cool game, man. I really like it. I think it's aged incredibly well. The graphics are pretty fantastic. The cameras, man, I can't get over the cameras. Like, you can't do any of this crap in Forza.
Yeah, I want to watch that stream that you did.
I haven't been asked to create a quality connection or sign into Xbox. I'm calm. I'm not infuriated. God, I can uninstall the companion app. I know. I could totally get rid of that crap now. What were they thinking? Like, stupid Microsoft, man.
I almost want to uninstall Forza now just to save the 100 gig.
Right?
Hard drive.
Right. And we can't do virus.
We do have Butts coming back. Butts is on a little gaming break, and he said he'd be back in a few weeks.
Okay, cool.
Trying it. So,
and
was there anyone else from Forza that we're missing?
GCAV is probably a
GCAV.
few weeks
We
out,
gotta
I
get
imagine.
GCAV to build a computer.
yeah, we have a little.
Yeah,
we
we've been
have a little
talking about
secret
that.
going on. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna get him something that's kind of a throw together from the clan of used parts, and it should run
Well,
the
I
game.
will donate something if somebody wants to There's a good chance I can donate that CPU. Give me a couple weeks. I might be changing out that CPU.
That's possible. It wouldn't fit in his board though. I'm actually throwing him an old 2600K that I have in a board.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And,
And then if he still needs a monitor, after this work from home thing is completely done and we're back to normal, if he needs a monitor, I can give him the monitor I'm using for work right now.
Awesome.
So,
I'll keep that in mind.
Who's down for some Jackbox? Some cool down time. Well, freaking fine then.
Everybody was quiet.
You got one.
It was anticlimactic.
Yeah. Here goes you four again. Yeah, Black was like, in the quietest voice I've heard him ever. He was like, oh, okay. Me.
See you guys there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fuck y'all then. I'm out of here.
All right, so next week is Silverstone.
All right, thanks guys for checking us out. We'll be playing Silverstone Peak next week, so please feel free to join us next Friday for our next exhibition race. So this is a pretty fun game. We're still getting used to it. I would appreciate you guys checking us out. We are Over30Clan. Check us out at over30clan.com. Gaming community for the older generation of gamers, and we'll see you guys next week. So thanks for hanging out, and I will now turn off the stream.